Hey, it's your favorite Slightly Hood therapist. And of course, once again, I am super excited because I have a special guest. I'm real excited. You're my first male.
Okay.
So this gonna be very interesting. But this is Randy, the
Yeah.
infamous Ray Ray from Facebook.
yeah.
So uh,
Yeah.
why you think I'm calling you infamous?
Uh, I think that okay, infamous means you're known for something bad or something, yeah, to some degree. So you know, I'll accept that.
Well, maybe I shouldn't use the
It's
word
cool. It's
infamous.
cool. It's cool. It's cool.
It's
Infamy can be
cool.
a good thing. Infamy is a good thing to a degree.
It can be. Well,
Yeah.
and so part of that is because you have like some very controversial Facebook posts sometimes. You be getting the ladies all riled up.
It really ain't controversial because people just like to disagree, even though it be the truth. So it's not controversial. It's the truth.
Okay. We will say that your truth is subjective.
It's invincible. Let's use it.
Well, I'll tell you, so you know a little bit of this, but my first chat here was with Kaylin.
Right, yeah.
And after Kaylin and I finished, like we stayed on the phone for a long time after. And she was like, there are so many people who have these interesting stories that I think would be really good for you to talk to. And she brought your name up, and I was like, Ray from Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what? He posts things sometimes, and I think he's extremely intelligent. I would love to hear his story. So she said that you've got some interesting things to say, and I'm excited. So
Me too.
you okay?
I'm excited.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about you and why you think that Kaylin said that you got an interesting story to tell. Because you done told me you think you're not interesting. I just don't believe in that. But
Yeah, I mean, on the surface level, I'm really on the surface level, it would appear that I'm outspoken. Um, what's the word? Attention seeking. It would seem that I like to post things for attention. But to be honest, I've always gotten in trouble for this in school, even when I was younger. I just blurt out things. The first thing that come to my mind, I would not necessarily blurt it out, but if the teacher say, "Hey, I got a question," and raise your hand, I just blurt out the answer. So a lot of times, I'm really just blurting out relationship answers, so to speak.
specifically, relationship answers is where you can't hold your tongue.
No, because it's just so much that I see wrong, and women. Well, not well. A lot of women like to disagree with how a man thinks. So if I say, "Hey, men don't think like this," there's always a group of women. "Oh, yes, they do, because I've dated a man with this." I'm like, that's your experience, but I'm not saying I know what your man is thinking. I'm telling you how he thinks. It's two totally different things.
Right.
For example, if you were to say, "Well, women like this, and this," how can I argue with you with what women like based on a handful of people that I've interacted with?
Right.
So
I can agree with that. I think that people struggle with understanding that their experiences shape the way they think. So it makes it very subjective, right? Like and even as a woman, I can't say that this is the way women think or this is what women do. Women like me that I'm around think, or you know what I mean? Because I don't want to speak for all women.
Right.
I am increasingly understanding the older that I get, we ain't all alike. So, but I get what you're saying. Like in general, though, like a man thinks a certain way, and you understand that because you are a man, and a woman thinks a certain way because I can understand that because I'm a woman.
It's
But,
simple. It's simple math.
but let's get back to your impulsiveness.
Okay.
I experienced something, I think it, and I just gotta let it fly out my lips. You've been doing this your whole life.
My whole life. My whole
Okay.
life. And sometimes I'm getting better with it as I go on, as I grow. Spiritually, I'm understanding the importance of not necessarily speaking out on something, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't speak on due to being in the nation. We follow protocol. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't even speak on. That we instructed not to. So it's not that I can't do it. The things that I can't speak on or that I'm instructed to not speak on, I don't.
Gotcha.
But a lot of this foolishness,
It's fair game.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, so you referenced your spirituality and you said the nation. You are Muslim.
Yes, I'm Muslim. Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about that journey? Like, were you always Muslim or?
Well, I think most people who are Muslim, unless they were brought up within the nation, they began as Christian, Baptist or whatever. So I grew up in the church. I was at church every time the doors were open. Because I was, raised by my grandmother. So we were at church every Sunday, Bible study, choir rehearsal. Like deacon meet, like I was in the choir, junior deacon, like all of these different functions within the church. I was there. Revival, like all these, like, so and I'm old school. I remember like Covenant Sunday, you had to stand up and testify, all these different things, but it never really just felt right, because I would always have these questions. So I would ask my grandmother, certain questions, and I was always met with, well, you can't question God. Can't question God under no circumstance. Excuse me. You can't question God. So I went through the whole baptism and, all that type of stuff, but it still just didn't.
It wasn't sitting right in your spirit.
It just didn't click. As a child, I was like, they don't really like, And so when I would have these questions, I was always met with, don't question God, just trust him. I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know and get it confirmed if I can't ask? So my grandmother died when I was 10 years old. So after she died, we moved from place to place, state to state. Like I'm averaging 2 or 3, sometimes 4 different schools a year.
Who, you said we moved, who were you living with after your grandmother?
When my grandmother died, my grandmother adopted me and my oldest sister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because my mom had us when she was young. So my grandparents was like, hey, look, we'll just take these 2, get yourself together, we'll take these 2, me and my oldest sister. So
you had other siblings though?
I have, let's see, 4 sisters and a brother. It was 6 of us.
Wow.
Yeah, I had one of my sisters died on my birthday in 2013. But at that time it was 4 of us. So when my grandmother died, my mom and my siblings and we just moved like state to state, city to city, state to state. Like this was ongoing for a number of years. So 5th grade, we were living in, this had to be Racine, Wisconsin. So I'm in 5th grade. So we go to Racine, Wisconsin. This was like 91. We go to an all-white school. So there's only maybe, we line up in the line getting ready to go to school. I only see like 3 or 4 other black kids. My sister was one of them.
Oh man.
So I'm the only black kid I'm the only black child in class.
After after having all of that instability of jumping from place to place to place, and then you laying roots, but you don't have anybody that looks like you that you connect with other than your sister.
No. And my sister 2 years older than me.
And she a girl.
And she a girl. 2 years, 2 days older than me. So I'm in this class. So I'm from the South, moved to the North, got an accent.
You definitely have one because you saying South.
From the South, moved to the North, got an accent. I talk slower than most up there. So, and then my teacher, is a racist.
Oh, really?
So I detected that by she will always call on me to read. So every time. Luckily for me, I'm good. I can really read, so I'm never messing up. So what sparked my transition to the Nation was we had a book report that was due. Black History Month. She was like, you can't write on Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Underground Railroad. Like she starts naming like this laundry list of things that we can't talk about.
The most notable.
The most notable things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, damn. So out of being rebellious, I knew that there was always friction between white America and the Nation of Islam. How I knew that, I don't know. But maybe in the music or something like that, people reference certain things, Malcolm and things like that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna do it on Malcolm X to piss her off. So my mom, we ride the bus to the library. I check out the autobiography of Malcolm X. I read the book report. I read the book, write the book report. One of the things in that book report, I think his grandfather was white. So I make sure I highlight that. The teacher read my book report and was like, this is like, you couldn't have read this book. I don't believe anything you wrote. Gave me an F on my book report.
Oh man.
So I'm like, it felt good to me because I knew I pissed her off. You know what I'm saying?
You started your life early with that. Yeah.
Because, I'm just giving it back. So I knew that I got to her, but at the same time, I was kind of hurt because I put in all this hard work. Like I'm reading the book. So I went home, told my mom about it. I don't know what day it was, but I missed school one day. So I see the minister on Phil Donahue.
The minister.
I see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on Donahue, on Phil Donahue. And I had never seen a black man so polished, so articulate, so clean looking. He was just a beautiful person. Mm-hmm. And he was giving it to these folks. So I'm like, I said, I like him. So in my subconscious, something was planted in me that I had that attraction to the minister. Mm-hmm. So as I got older and grew, like throughout time, I became more conscious. I studied more. I, read up on the Nation of Islam and all that. So in my mind, I already knew when at 10 years old, I'm like, I'm gonna become Muslim one day. Really, to just as a rebellious thing, but as I had children, now I'm struggling with Christianity because I'm going to church more. Because now something is pulling at me that maybe the church ain't where I'm supposed to be. So as a result, I'm fighting that. So I'm going to church more.
Trying to fix that.
Trying to fix it because I'm like, I don't know how it's going to be received. Like, I knew that I was always going to do something because I've always been to myself, I've always been like the black sheep. So I knew I was going to suffer backlash, but I just really didn't know how I was going to deal with it. I just knew I was going to do it. So I fought it. My barber was a very, very devout Christian.
As a child or as a young?
He grew up, I've been knowing my barber since I was about 14.
Okay, so
we finally ended up moving to Memphis. I know I'm all over the place, but we finally ended up moving to Memphis when I was in the 9th grade.
Okay, like, gotcha.
Some of 8th grade, 9th grade-ish. So my barber from day one, he's always been like this super Christian. Not saying that he's perfect, but he's always talked about his love for God and things of that nature. So I'm starting to go to church with him. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to the time where I'm fighting this urge to lead a church because it just didn't feel right, but I don't know what it is. So we had these long conversations. I was like, no, this ain't it. I fought that for probably about 10 years. So finally, in 2015, the minister's coming to Memphis. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go see him.
How old were you at this point?
I was, let's see, this was when I was 35. Okay. So this is in 2015. So this is about 7 years ago. Okay. So I got off work. I said, I'm gonna take my son with me. So the minister was going to speak. The event began at like 7:30. So I was like, well, I'll just get down there about, I knew it was gonna be a lot of people. So I'm just gonna get down there about a couple of hours early. So I get down to the Cook Convention Center at 5 p.m. It's already about 10,000 people in line. Like 5,000 people, it was thousands of people in line. Okay, go ahead. Okay, go ahead. So, thank you. So, we finally get in. We in line for like 3 hours. So I get in, get good seats, and the minister finally comes out. And when he comes out, it's just something came over me. I get goosebumps. Me and my son are looking at each other. Both of us got goosebumps all over us. So it's like what's going on? Like, we don't even know. So when the minister spoke that night, so after that night, I seen the minister. I decided that night I'm going to join the Nation of Islam. And I started my process, started going to the mosque, and, I accepted it. I embraced it, so that was a transition for me. And as a result of that, like, my whole life changed. Because
what was different for you then?
It was different because I had so many questions. And what caught my attention was they was like, if there's anything that you've ever wanted to ask us about God, write it down and we'll prove it to you. We'll answer it and then we'll prove what we say. So I was like, okay. So I'm writing down these questions and I started going to classes, and as I'm processing, I'm asking these questions and they answering them and it's making sense. And so, that changed who I was as a person. I became a better son, a better brother, a better father. co-worker friend, like all these different things, I became better due to me becoming Muslim and me accepting and embracing the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. You know,
Do you think that you would have still come to this journey of transitioning to the nation had you not had those experiences you had as a young boy? The racial experiences, the not having, any stability as a kid.
um, ye- you know what? The Quran says, Allah says in the Quran that I knew you when you were in the womb.
We lost sound again. Okay, sorry, we lost sound. You said that the Quran says that Allah
Allah,
says,
yeah, Allah says in the Quran that I knew you when you were in the womb. I chose you. So it may not have been that circumstance per se, but if Allah willed it, if He chose me, then I was going to become Muslim one way or another. I was going to embrace my nature. Because you really don't, I hear a lot of people say you converted to Islam. Well, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that Islam is the nature of God. That's his nature. Your nature is one of peace and submission. So all a Muslim is one who submits to the will of God. You know, that's all Islam means, is submission to the will of God. A Muslim is one who practices submission to the will of God. So I'm really just embracing my
what was
nature.
already there in you.
It was already there anyway.
Got you.
So as a result of that, as I'm embracing my nature and learning more about myself, I've just became a more insightful person. I don't really think that, I got a lot of friends who consult me for advice and, all of these different things. And it's really